and welcome to Where Are They Now for the Chelmsford Alumni Association. I am your host, Heather Lindstead, the class of 1985, and I am really excited about welcoming our guest today, Kathleen Ralls from the class of 1996. Kathleen, thank you for joining me. It's a little different being in Zoom all the time and not in studio, but thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much, Heather. I'm really excited.
It's going to be an interesting conversation because, we're the last year you've been kind of, I would assume like everybody else, kind of stuck in certain locations, but I know that you have had world travels and those kind of things. So that must have been a little bit of a shock though with the pandemic.
Yeah, I'm ready to stretch my legs again soon.
Okay. So anyways, you're a big athlete at Chelmsford High but it had to start somewhere. Before you got to Chelmsford High, I know there's always talk about the students of the Westlands and the big athletes and stuff like that, but it's just kind of one of those schools that everybody talks about, the kids of Westlands. So what was it like, and was it pretty competitive growing up in the Westlands at a young age?
Yeah, I love the Westland School. I went K through 5 there. I started in 1983 with Mrs. Cutcliffe. I remember all of my teachers there. I remember all my classrooms there. One of the things that the Westlands that my family always makes fun of is when I started there, they had the 6th grade still at the elementary. And so they had the Westlands Wallabies. And these were the jump ropers, and they had a whole team. And so my friend Dana Rourke and I, we got the jump ropes. We were going to make the team. We practiced in gym. We were neighbors. We practiced at home. And then they moved the 6th grade to McCarthy. And so they stopped the jump roping competitions. And so for years, I was so disappointed that I didn't get to try out for this team. And my family, Heather, literally till last year, they said, there was never a team. You and Dana were just like out jump roping. You never really knew what you were talking about. And I finally found an article in the Lowell Sun about the Westlands Wallabies competing at a pancake breakfast. And I was like, it was a real team. So yeah, definitely. I started really young. I saw these older girls jump roping and I wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah, it is a little bit intimidating though, but good for you because you got to come from the McCarthy, right? Is that
yes?
Right. Yeah. But it is a little intimidating when you go to Chelmsford High and all the winning programs that they've had in the past and stuff like that. And when you start your sports, and you had kind of mentioned that you're shy person at first, but did athletics help you get kind of out of that? And how was it being a freshman at Chelmsford High with, all kind of the expectations?
I mean, being part of the sports teams was my identity. I was a solid student. I took, my academics seriously, but I was very shy, very quiet, but being part of the team helped me make friends right away, kind of, got into a groove. I actually was going to play soccer. I played soccer for years for Deb Fleming. She was an amazing coach. And then I just actually went to the first day and I thought, I'm just ready for a change. I saw the field hockey girls on the field next door in the big, fields. And I decided to go out for the field hockey team instead. I thought I'll give it a year. And, if it doesn't work out, then I'll go back to soccer and work my way back in that program. So that was a great decision.
As a freshman, you had never played field hockey before?
Correct. I had never even seen it. Just that one day I looked over from soccer tryouts and I was like, oh, that looks pretty fun.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of, a lot of people don't know about field hockey, but you've done so much traveling and you did a lot of traveling to Europe. And over in Europe though, field hockey is huge, right? Or pretty big, and really big for the men, right? Is that?
Yes.
That's really
cool. Especially the Dutch and India as well. And Australia, it's big for both men and for women. Yeah. I saw a lot of players. I've been to Ireland a few times, and so I see both boys and girls like walking around with hockey sticks. So I think it's pretty cool because you don't really see that here.
Right. But so what was your experience like at Chelmsford as far as, so you said you were an athlete and those kind of things, but talk about your teachers and stuff at CHS and the fact that they probably inspired you. I know that you had talked about being a journalism major, so obviously somebody must have inspired you in that respect.
Yeah, I always enjoyed writing. I'm the daughter of a reading and writing teacher. My mom, Joanne, is a 50-year career as a public educator. And so reading was a really big part of my growing up. And it wasn't until my senior year, my last semester, that I took journalism with Mrs. Marcotte. And I just took it because I like to write, and I thought this would be cool. And I wrote an article actually about my softball teammate, Christy Brody. And she said, Kathleen, this is great. I'm going to put it in the school newspaper. And I was like, really? So that was a really cool way to end my kind of academic career, is getting published. And it got me thinking. I actually was going to UMass Amherst as an English major and swapped to journalism. And Mrs. Marcotte's just, I mean, she could have just put in the paper, but she just had just the right words to say to me, that it wasn't too much, it wasn't too little. It was just like, you got something here, and it sparked something for sure.
Yeah. But so you did go on to be a journalism major, and then you wrote for a paper that I am sure, as the player of the year, and playing 3 sports and so then was it fun to write for the paper that you were always probably highlighted in? I mean, I'm sure you won a lot of Lowell Sun All-Stars and got to go to the banquet and all that kind of stuff. Was it kind of surreal when you started writing for them?
It really was, just to kind of see that when I started back in 99 and 2000, I interned there, and it was 8 men that were full-time. And so it was just cool to kind of see the faces. And some of them were like, oh, I remember you, or, or Rick Harrison, he would take the calls for decades and put all those kids' names in the papers. It meant so much to all of us. And to meet, but he wasn't always out, interviewing people. Like you'd see Carmine and Barry Scanlon and Dennis Whitten. And so it was really a treasure to meet Rick Harrison, because I was like, this is the guy who really makes it the local paper that the Lowell Sun was for so long.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny that they probably identify you, but like, I think everybody in the area just wants their name in the Lowell Sun at least once, on a positive note. I mean, I'm sure there's others that were like, oh, I didn't want to be in the Lowell Sun, but as athletes, like it was like the highlight though too.
Oh yeah, you got the paper every day, and you read about your team, your friends. You wanted to see the scores, because of course I played before the internet, so that was their only way of. That was their only scouting reports, was reading the paper every day. So
yeah. But also like playing sports at Chelmsford High. I mean, people talk about it all the time. Talk about like the friendships, the teamwork, and you've mentioned kind of being shy. But obviously, you became a leader and those kind of things. So, I mean, as coaches, did they bring that out of you, or did your teammates just kind of bring it out of you?
I think definitely both. I mean, Maura Devaney, she coached 7 of my 12 seasons, which is incredible. So field hockey, basketball, and softball. And when I started, she was just getting her start as a coach and working her way in as a teacher. And I remember actually, I just found it this week. She had recommended me for a leadership program. And it was just something like maybe a 2-day program. And I remember, I knew that I had been nominated by her. And I remember I was just blown away, because as a sophomore, I really was this very quiet athlete. I was very, I don't know that anybody else watched me. I practiced, I went to summer camps and summer leagues and things, but I definitely looked up and respected the more skilled and experienced players. And so I kind of hung back and did what I was told for a while, but she nominated me for this leadership program. I still have the folder with all my ideas about what I thought a leader should be. I was just reading it this week. And that meant a lot to be picked out. And I think, and I realize now, I think she was trying to motivate me, and she saw something in me. And as a leader, I think when I became a senior and I was a captain for several teams, I really tried to be myself. And I realized that there were other quiet girls in the team that were just as dedicated and just as ferocious on the fields, but were quiet and needed me to be myself. And that was a great lesson I learned early.
Yeah. So you mentioned though your mom, so you went and did the journalism thing, but then you mentioned your mom. So was there a tug at any point to go into education, or after the journalism thing where it's like, hey, I think I want to teach, or how did that come about?
So my mom dressed me as a teacher, like starting in kindergarten. Like, honestly, I had these dresses from Sears. I was pretty sure I looked just like the teacher, and I wanted to dress just like the teacher. And I planned on going into education. I was going to be an English major and do that. And but I also didn't want to be my mother. And so when I started talking about, in high school about going to be a teacher, it's like, oh, you're just like your mom. You're just like your mom. And I thought, no, I'm me, I'm myself. I love my mom, but I don't want to be her. And she would never want that. So I went into journalism, but I was writing like 5 p.m. to 3 a.m. because we'd take all the calls after games, and then we work and paginate until 3 a.m. And then I had my days off. So I started to sub. My mom's like, hey, we're always looking for subs. Why don't you start to? And this is back before you got to pick your call, your job. So I get a call at 5:30. My son get home at 3, get a call at 5:30, go in to teach for the day. And I was like, I love this. I love this. And I'd already started coaching. And so I decided to go to American University to do my master's. I had gotten this because of my background in journalism. They hired me to work in the sports information department. So I was able to get a degree out of my experiences. So that was really cool. And I got to teach in Washington, D.C. public schools and Fairfax County, and very different experiences from Chelmsford High.
In a positive way.
Yeah. I was just I wanted something different. And so it was just, they would ask me, what is it like to go to school in Massachusetts in your little town? And, and I would, we would compare, these kids are taking Metro. They were walking me around the city,
Right, so. Right. That must have been a big difference. So, but during that time you also were coaching. So what did you coach?
So I started coaching at Amherst Pelham Regional High School when I was at UMass Amherst. I coached JV field hockey, and just happened to run into the coach and one day in town, and she was talking about needing a JV coach. And I was like, oh, and I coached for Maura Devaney and with Sharon Cardillo for a little bit. And then I've also, in my career, I'm still coaching actually Lowell High JV softball.
Oh, really? Okay.
I just got back from a game. We were in North Andover about an hour ago. But so I've coached a lot of track and fields, girls basketball, softball, field hockey.
Yeah. It's a nice way to give back, don't you think, as a coach? I mean, teaching is great too, being in the classroom, but as an athlete and just kind of sharing what you've experienced and giving back, it's kind of a nice part of it.
It is. I look like this year I have a team of 13 girls and 5 have never played softball. Yeah. And a lot of them have never played a sport. And I so admire them, like the courage to come out, because I know you're a very competitive athlete too. And, you wouldn't, I don't know, for me, I don't know if I would have gone out for a team if I didn't have, a background or, I mean, I guess I did for field hockey, but, I don't know. Yeah. But I admire, I look at the girls and I think, well, some of these girls really have their eyes on varsity, and I can see the way they carry themselves and the way they prepare. But other girls are there for all different reasons. Yeah. And that's been something that I didn't realize as a player, but as a coach, I can see and appreciate. So I'm trying to, mentor that.
Yeah. But talk about that too, though, because you went over to Norway, right? And you must have dealt with girls there that weren't runners, or, is that what you like? How did that all happen too?
Yeah. Well, I was teaching at Northampton High. I was coaching all 3 seasons. In fact, I coached 4 teams one year at Northampton High. Don't ask me how I did that, but that was a busy year. And we had an opportunity to take a group of students to Norway. So I was selected as one of the 2 teachers. I had 3 weeks, all expenses paid in Norway. And when I was there, someone said, there's a Fulbright Foundation, there's a scholarship for teachers. And I thought, I'm a state school kid. I'm not a Fulbright scholar. That was my idea. And at the time, I was trying to convince my husband that I wanted to move back home. It had been like 15 years since I lived in the Merrimack Valley. And so here I am thinking, well, Northampton is too far away, but Norway, not, there's no logic. But I applied, and my husband said, you're going to apply, you're going to get it, and you're going to go. And that's what happened. So it's called the Roving Scholar of American Studies, and I taught in 50 different schools all across the country. In fact, my mom came, she got to teach a little bit too. So
really?
Out and joined, and I said, she wanted to see the 24-hour darkness. So we were way up on the Russian border, and we got to, spend time with the kids. And I got to teach, I had like a variety of lessons, and I focused on, difficult times in U.S. history and how I feel like they demonstrate the greatest growth, with civil rights movements, with gender rights movements. And so the Norwegians there are different from Americans, that they walk everywhere. So they may not play a lot of competitive sports. It's a little different from ours. They were very intrigued about school teams and buses and things.
Yeah.
But they are very outdoorsy in general. So there's just a general activeness that I really like. I was very fond of. I had a lot of fun with them.
I have to ask, so, I mean, was your mom kind of shocked on, or is teaching? Is
Teaching
it all
is teaching.
Yeah.
I was with the older kids, and she was just coming, and I said, my mom, oh, great, 2 American teachers. And so she was in a totally different part of the school. I didn't even, she was off on her own.
Yeah.
So they took us out to recess, and they showed us the different games they played, and we had a ball together.
Did any of the kids make comments like, hey, that's your mother? Because you didn't want to be your mom, but.
Well, she taught at McCarthy when I was there.
Oh, okay.
And my mom, I'm 5'10", but my mom is only 5'1.5". So like not everyone knew that she was my mom at first. So people would be like, why are you bugging that lady for money? And I was like, it's my mom. But no, in Norway, they were, just the height difference, they were kind of giggling about, but no, they enjoyed it.
In all of the, I mean, I think you've gone to 4 continents and 43 states, 20 countries. Has there been someplace that has really been so thought-provoking about the culture, or anything that really has like changed you at all? Or, I mean, is there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an ideology. I got a chance to study minority cultures in China, and I didn't know anything about this, but I got to go. We went to 6 cities in 3 weeks. It was really intense. They said, pack 4 outfits for 3 weeks. That's it. So let's, wash it in the sink, wring it out, wear it the next day. But there's 20 teachers from the Northeast, and there's a lot of negative news about China, even before COVID and things, but just like the communist system and things like that. And I understood. But the people in China were so kind and so wanting to talk with us, wanting to communicate, take lots of pictures, but just really friendly and open. And that was the message that I took home to so many people. It's just like, we hear and see the news and the government, but there are people. And there's a whole, in it, we need to not, lump everybody together, to see them individually.
Right. Wow. So, all right, but most beautiful country that you've ever seen?
Well, Ireland, I'm Irish, so obviously. I don't even think about it.
So is that your next place to go back to now that you can travel, or where would you go?
I would love to. My best friend from college lives in the north in Ireland, and I have cousins in County Cavan. So I had actually hoped last year when I graduated that I was going to sneak out to Ireland for a week or so. That was my big plan, and it didn't happen. So I'm hoping. I don't have anything definite right now, but that's definitely. I hope in the next year I get to go back to Ireland for a few days. I got places to stay, so I just need to get over there.
So you've continued with your education, and again, you're going to talk to me. You just graduated last spring, right?
Yes.
Is that from your parents too, the continuous of wanting to be educated, or is it just really because you want to have so many experiences? Yeah,
I joke with my mom every time I finish a degree or something. I ask her if that's enough, and she says for now.
Okay.
But she's really not. She's just a supporter. She definitely is not, breathing down my neck. My parents gave me a tremendous leeway all through school, and I really appreciated that. But I would say the degree in education at UMass Lowell, I wanted to be limitless in education. That was my goal, is for whatever I wanted to do. I didn't want anyone to say, well, geez, you need this, you need to have another degree. I was originally looking to do another master's, and someone said, yeah, you're in Massachusetts, you get another master's degree in education, like that'll set you apart from nobody.
Right.
So I decided to continue the PhD.
Yeah. Now, how about your brothers and sisters, or sister, right? They graduated from Chelmsford. Are they educators too, or where did their path take them?
No, I'm in the middle. I'm the middle, the shortest the only redhead and the only lefty in the family. So you can pick out where I fall. But my brother, he lives in Chelmsford. He coaches his two boys. He works for Verizon, and he's on the 110 fields all the time. Our dad put up the lights back there in the 80s.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, he put up all the lights at the stadium, alumni stadium, and and so he's busy with his family and Tommy, and he played baseball at Chelmsford High.
Yeah.
And then my sister graduated in 2000, and she's an EMT, so she's busy saving lives.
Did she travel, or are they both pretty local?
They're pretty local. She's also in Chelmsford.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so talk about that though. So your husband let you go to Norway, obviously.
Yep. Yeah. He stayed home. And
he knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
But all the other travels and those kind of things, like, is it great to have the home base near Chelmsford, something quaint, but talk about like having the challenge of going to so many places and
yeah, I mean, there's always nerves, and I forget about it. Like when I went to Ethiopia 2 years ago in May and June and July, 2019, and I didn't tell anyone, but I was so nervous like the week before. Like, what am I getting myself into? I'm going to this whole other continent by myself. I'm going to be 6 hours outside the capital of Addis Ababa, and like, I don't even know the money. I don't speak the language. I don't know how to get around anywhere. I'm going to stick out, quite a bit. So I do get kind of amped up, and then I remind myself, and it comes back to sports, the things that, if it doesn't scare you, it's maybe not worth it. And
right.
So I keep saying you've done big things before, you've, set goals for yourself. So this is just, one more step for you. So, but it is nice certainly to have home. I'm very close. We lost my dad a couple of years ago, but I was close, very, very close with him and my mom as well. So it's just, I tell my mom, all I need you to do is pick up the phone when I call. That's all I need from you. So she's good about it.
So talk about more right now, you're writing again.
Yeah. So I have two really big projects I'm working on. I just got accepted into the Creator Institute. And so when I did the dissertation last year, it was so much, I had 20 minutes to defend it, and so much about the academics, the theory and the statistics. And when I finished and they said, you passed, I said, I didn't get to tell you the story of the girl runners that I met. Their lives have been saved from child marriage because of Girls Gotta Run in the program that I was studying. I didn't even tell you about, getting up in the morning and running with them and getting dropped in the middle of all these farmers' fields and like, where am I going? And I'm running through mud and eating lunch with them and tin sheds and these grass huts and going to school and meeting their families. That was nowhere to be found in my dissertation. It's just how those things go.
Right.
So I just had a book in my head. So I plotted this program. It's run through a Georgetown professor. So it starts next week, and in a year, I'm going to have a book published, and it's going to be focused on my experiences in Ethiopia, but also my experiences as an athlete and research in girl leadership. I'm very much about voice empowerment and leadership for girls.
Yeah. And is that what happened in Ethiopia? I mean, the girls, like, how did they find the program?
They're selected because it's only in 2 communities. Yeah. And they are the most in need, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
That they were identified by their school administrators.
Wow. So that is great to them. Yeah.
They're going to be the most educated people in their families. And for a teenage girl, that is unheard of and amazing.
Yeah.
So like it's almost 50% of girls, but it's more than 50% of girls are married by the time they're 17 or 18 in Ethiopia and having children young. And these girls have really high aspirations career-wise. So
that's fabulous. And what about your second thoughts and ideas and where you're going?
Yeah, so during the pandemic, I had applied for some professor positions, and I was given 2 actually in the Midwest. I was offered 2, and I decided they weren't worth leaving home for. So I stayed here. I've been tutoring and coaching, and I started to write a voice empowerment curriculum based on my experiences starting in Chelmsford and my research at UMass Lowell, and I'm piloting it this spring with several groups, and I've just been accepted to an entrepreneurial program called E4All in Lowell, and I'm going to create a nonprofit where I'm going to provide empowerment leadership programming for girls in the region. So that's in the really early stages. So that's gonna be my focus this year, start a business and write a book. Easy, right?
Right, right.
Sure.
And and what else could you add to your plate right now? Anything?
Yeah, so, I mean, but again, it comes back to the confidence that I got from sports of achieving things I didn't think I could by myself and with my teammates. So I have this tremendous support through this E4L program to start the business, and the writing is also a program too. So I'm very much that team oriented, I need that. I love it.
Well, I think that if there's one thing though, I would tell you that, yes, I was an athlete. And one of the things though is sometimes being an athlete makes you too busy. Like, have you ever thought like, oh God, I have to keep going? And sometimes like you look back and you're like, now why is that? But it's because you're so regimented to always be doing something, or thinking about the next game, or what can I do better, and kind of, I think that whole thing of competing against yourself, what could I do better, or how can I be a better leader, and those kind of things. I really think that that's one of the things that's kind of a downfall somewhat if you're a really competitive athlete or you've lived your life playing sports. It is one of those things, and you seem to be like right on the top of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you were saying that competing against yourself, definitely, for sure. And I think too, being an athlete, I had wonderful coaches at the high school, Bruce Rich, Nancy Williams and Maura. And, it's just like, we'll keep going, like whatever happened in today's game, today's practice, we move forward, right? So tomorrow's a new day. And so I think, there's a lot of things I play them like tomorrow I'll get to.
Well, I mean, you have had an unbelievable career so far, and I think hopefully people watch this show and then they're going to just be like, oh boy, I have to watch her again. And if I keep going and that producer Bob Pariseau keeps me on the air here, we'll have you back next year too, or in a couple of months. You've probably gone to a different country or whatnot, and let us know. But hey, it was wonderful to meet you. I thank you very much for being on the show, and I wish you all the best. But I know you're going to do it, because it sounds like if you had to run 100 miles an hour, you would. So so you'll get it done. So I want to wish you all the best, and to our viewing audience, thank you for being here, and thank you for watching. And again, Kathleen, best wishes and good luck.
Thanks, Heather. You too. This is a lot of fun.